Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, so besides this bump on my lip, I'm doing pretty good. But yeah, I wanted to kind of highlight what Kyrie Irving said today because a lot of conversation has been had in regards to him going back to Dallas, coming to the Lakers, or some third random thing. And he went online today or yesterday, I'm not sure where, on IG, on IG, and said that he would like everybody to respectfully not pay any attention to what is being said in regards to teams that he may be willing to go to in free agency. He has not made any decision. He is an unrestricted free agent, and his options are open, but he's not looking to make that decision right now. And so he just wants everybody to stop listening to these dudes that try to mix politics and sports together, because at the end of the day, they have not heard from him in regards to his free agency. So that's what I'm bringing to you. That is what I'm bringing to you. Congratulations to him as well. I see that his lady has just announced that they got another little one on the way. So we definitely send warm congratulations to his family in regards to the new addition to their family. And we, you know, as Laker fans, would love to see Kyrie Irving on this team. If the price is right, but a lot has been said about the price not being right, and that is the context from which Kyrie Irving has been mentioned on this channel lately, which is why I'm coming to you saying this here, because it's just fair to say, given the fact that I've been also in the mix with the conversations. Um, and I don't know who follows me or who doesn't, but I don't want to deter anybody's process or affect anything in a negative way. I'm just a talking head. But at the same time, it's like, we're going to do what we do. And we hear from the different, talking official people. We take what we get from them as tea leaves or nuggets, and we put it on our channel, and we just carry the info forward. So it's much better to hear directly from the players. And so when we do that, that's what we bring to you as well. So that's really what it is, man. I just wanted to come here and kind of clarify that. Um, and just continue on the path of saying that I think Kyrie Irving, he has his options open. I know that Dallas is a place that could be potentially looking to re-sign him. I didn't think that was the greatest fit, based on what it is. I think they could change what they have, and then suddenly it could be totally different. But they do have some pieces there in Dallas I'm curious about. Um, Green and Hardy, I mentioned a lot. Those guys must be mainstays with the Dallas Mavericks. I know they have the 10th overall pick, and much has been said about whether or not they'd be willing to trade that pick as of late. Um, I don't really know what's best for them in that regard. I just know they have some holes they need to fill in regards to their roster, and if they don't get it done, it's going to be something that they go into the season with again. So they're going to need rim protection. They're going to need uh, more size in general, and a few other things as well, for that matter. So I don't know that Dallas is a complete squad just yet, but looking at how the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat are able to be successful, I really do think there could be some changes in regards to how people view how best to build their team. I was listening to Kenny for real say that today as well. I mentioned it earlier a little bit briefly in my video, and I just think that makes a lot of sense. The fact of the matter is, teams have to assess what depth really means to them. And if you can't use half the players that you're paying and they're overly talented, you're devaluing those guys by having them on your team. You're not necessarily making yourself a strong team if unless those players are able to get some playing time. Otherwise, you're just decreasing their value on your squad. So that must be given some balance in regards to how to build teams going forward, not just with the teams that have depth, but the teams that don't necessarily have so much of it. Do they really need to be seeking it out, or should they be using more of their cap to get higher quality top guys so that their top 8 can be as talented as possible, and the rest of them dudes can just be where they need to be, slotted on the depth chart, matching what it is that they're expected to do with their value. So that's really what I'm looking at. The Lakers had a problem this year because we had too many good players not getting enough time. Guys like Thomas Bryant and Lonnie Walker and Vanderbilt, they just did not get a chance to show as much as they would have been able to show if they would have been in situations that they fit a bit better, on teams where they were featured a bit more without so much heavy lifting guys ahead of them, able to do more and thus demanding more time on the court. Um, that's a thing. So now it's like, all right, is it best to have a bunch of super talented dudes sitting there like that? Or is it best to kind of trade 2 of them dudes, 3 of them dudes, for a better one to slip into my top 8, and then just keep nice little okay prospects back there and pray for good health. But see, I know that what we're assessing is essentially uh, how important it is to have depth. And once you don't have it, you start exposing just how trash them dudes are on the back of that bench, and that's what we need to also assess. The worst case scenario for teams like Denver and Miami, when you're trying to assess how to build your team, it's like, yeah, they did that with 8 guys, but that's not something they probably want to. They're not going to probably be a dynasty doing that. They had better get a bench if they want to do it again, and so, and 9 out of 10 teams that do that without talent are going to find out that injury problems are going to probably meet them at their doorstep. So, as I try to assess what makes sense to me, I just say give me depth, and maybe that 11th and 12th guy doesn't need to be overly talented, but all of them other 10 need to be able to be put in regular rotation. That's how I balance it out. Because if you think you're gonna run out there with an 8-man team like Denver did, 2 of them dudes is likely gonna get injured, just like Denver's been dealing with for the last 4 years. And we notice Denver ain't been in the finals every year. It's because Murray and Porter been hurt the whole time. That's the first time they've been healthy. So that needs to be taken into very much strong consideration. I think depth does actually make more sense in the end. So that's really what it comes down to. How do you have enough depth without getting outclassed? How do you have enough depth without having not put enough into your superstars? How much needs to go there? And if you're a team like the Lakers, they have a different mentality about how to hold on to superstars, or rather how much superstars should matter in what they're doing. We kind of go after superstars for other reasons other than what's best on the basketball floor, and I just don't think that's the way to build going forward when you got a field like what we are seeing starting to form. So that's what I want to say about my team. Dallas, as I said, them trading the 10th pick. This is what I was going to say about that. I just don't know that you're not doing yourself a favor by just drafting that 10th pick and just bringing that person to Luka, because the argument is that Luka Doncic is probably not going to want a rookie to try to wait on to develop. But that's not how I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this as somebody who I know is going to be able to run with Luka Doncic for the next 5 or 6 years. And as they both grow together, he's going to be the guy who's significantly young enough to where he and Luka Doncic could be a nice 1-2 punch, or he could be Luka's 3 or his 4, depending on how he develops. But as Luka starts to get older, this person is aging behind him, and they stay on tab with the same timeline. So I'm looking at, like, you see how Shaq was maybe like 4 years older than Kobe? You like that. You like that for your timeline. You want your main guy or your second main guy to not necessarily be the same age, but one of them behind the other. So as your team starts to age, you got them aging differently instead of both getting old at the same exact time. Now, we're way away from that being the case, but when you consider how old Luka is versus what this draft pick's age will be, 3 years from now, you still happy you have that player that you draft this year at 10. 4 years from now, 5 years from now, if he develops into what you think he should be, based on your timeline, it's fine. Luka's not that old. He should not be shunning rookies coming to his situation. Essentially what I'm saying to you. It's not like he's Dame or Bradley. Nah. They probably want you to trade them picks so that you can bring them a star. But a guy like Luka, what is he, 25? He should want as much young pieces from these drafts as possible. If he knows what he wants, if he knows what's best for him, he gonna want as much of the stuff that's coming out of these next 4 drafts on his team as humanly possible. Never mind what it looked like, never mind their age, never mind on how long it takes for them to develop. He should want a bunch of people young as him or younger than him on his team to grow with him. That's it. That's what I got to say about that. Portland, on the other hand, much has been said about them maybe thinking about moving their pick. And as we said, Dame probably does want them to do something like that because it makes more sense for his timeline if they were to. Miller is expected to go to Charlotte, from what I'm hearing, although that's not solidified either. But just looking at how the tea leaves are starting to unfold, we're starting to think that Charlotte might be looking at Miller instead of looking at Scoot based on fit with LaMelo Ball. I don't know other than to say, if that's the case, Portland moving 3 looks a little That looks misguided to me. And we've already talked about that on a previous video. I made a video about that about a week and a half ago. But if for some reason Miller does get drafted at 2, Portland has a very serious decision to make. Because you can try to do all this with Dame if you want. And it makes a lot of sense. And you know, that's their guy. They got a special affinity up there for him. But again, we're talking about the future, man. The future. And if you are certain that Scoot Henderson is somebody who should be either 2 or 3, trading him on draft night is probably not something you think makes any sense, other than the fact that you just don't think he fits with your team. It's the same thing as Charlotte's running into. Like, Charlotte may not think LaMelo Ball and Miller and Scoot fit with one another, but I'm not sure that Scoot is actually not even a higher prospect than Melo himself. When I look at those two, I'm not certain he's not actually going to be better than Melo himself. So it's like, are you sure, Mike, you're going to do that? Brandon Miller is good enough to where you can say yes, but it's like, when you look at, if you look at Portland, it's like, all right, so y'all gonna pass on Scoot too? You're gonna trade him to somebody who actually desires him out there, some random team like I was listening to a guy by the name of Big Herm who gave us some content today in regards to this. I believe it was Big Herm I was listening to. Forgive me if I'm wrong, Big Herm. But nevertheless, they were essentially saying that the Nets may be interested in moving, trying to get that 3rd pick if for some reason it becomes available, and the Portland Trailblazers want Mikal Bridges possibly for that pick. I'm higher on Mikal Bridges than most, but I'm not trading Scoot Henderson for Mikal Bridges. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And if I'm Portland, I'm not. I'm cool on that. I'm looking for another move to get Scoot somewhere else. Pascal Siakam's name, I think, was mentioned in the content I watched there for that 3rd overall pick with Portland, and I'm just like, I like Pascal a lot. I'm probably going to hold on to this prospect that is Scoot Henderson. And if I'm Toronto, I would love to do that, because I would love to match Scoot Henderson with Scotty Barnes. That's going to be terrifying to deal with them dudes physically. So that's something I would love to do if I'm Toronto. But like, Portland, I think, is overthinking this thing, man. And y'all know how I feel about Portland's situation with Dame. Y'all know how I feel about this. I have never wavered on this. I think Dame's contract is a contract only a mother can love, man. I think nothing of that contract in any way. I want my Lakers to avoid that thing like the plague. And that's how I feel about it for just about every team that gets a hold of it. And so maybe Portland's just saying, you know what, since we have this thing, we don't even want to tempt the market to see if anybody would take it. We love our guy. We don't want to play with him in any way. Let's just move forward with moving this very valuable pick and bringing Dame what it is that ultimately give him an opportunity to win a championship. And maybe it pans out. Maybe you bring him the right piece and he's able to win a championship. I'm not ruling that out, because he is that type of guy. But if I'm a Portland Trailblazer fan, I just don't know if, because of the history that I've had as a Portland fan, if I'm a Portland fan, I don't know if it's not time to just say, look, that is a great prospect. He landed in our hands. Let's take him and not make the same mistake we've made so many times. So many times. Michael Jordan. Who else y'all did this with? Hakeem Olajuwon. No, Olajuwon wasn't available to you. But you did pick Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan. Y'all picked Greg Oden over Kevin Durant. Y'all done had some bad luck with Brandon Roy. This franchise there needs to pick up Scoot Henderson and not overthink this situation. Especially if he happens to fall to 3. You got to take that human specimen, man, and pair him next to Shaden Sharp and let that be what the hell you're doing. And get that $60 million off your books, send him somewhere else, and reset your situation and go forward into the future. That's what I think makes the most sense for me if I'm a Portland Trailblazer diehard, because I do not want to miss out on the next, big point guard with superhuman strength just because I was trying to hold on to the last of the Dame days. That don't make no sense to me at all. And I guess it's because I'm not a Portland fan and in love with the Dame era. That's what it was. I don't have no affinity to that. I'm a Laker fan. So I could look at that for what it is and just say, yo, that's bullcrap. Get that out of here. That contract is whack. Send it to Washington and play with Bradley Beal and give me all their picks. That's what I want to do with that. and I move into the future, and I put together some brand new Portland Rip City thing that y'all ain't never seen before, and we'll be winning like crazy. And then like 3 years from now, before Dame retires, I'll bring him back, and we'll have a championship team then that I would have put together since he had been gone. That's exactly how I'm gonna do that. And if he wants to be a Portland Trailblazer to end his career, he will be on a vet minimum contract, and we'll win a championship. Because I don't have to do this, or we could do this with him on $60 million. Continue to let all this good talent go by the left and the waist side, and continue to re-sign Nurkic and stuff like that, and we could just be middle of the pack road with whatever superstar we're able to make a trade for if we get one. Pascal Siakam, Dame Lillard, second round. You know what I'm saying? Mikal Bridges, Dame Lillard. Depends on what else you put in there. But for me, Shaedon Sharpe, Trenton Watford, what you call it? Some more of them dudes. What's the other guy, the center they got? I can't think of his name. But they got another guy that I like over there. They got some youngsters, man. Nasir Little, Simons, Scoot. Man, you kidding me? And I got like $1 million times more cap space because Dame ain't on the books at 60. Yeah, we probably gonna tank this year, probably, because we're not gonna be good enough to like do everything we want to do. But then again, Simons is a hell of a player. Simons probably gonna average 30 points in that situation. And you know how good Shaedon is. Everybody know how good Shaedon is at this point. So it's like, yo, are y'all sure y'all gonna trade this pick for a guy who's like 30? So he can pair up with Dame and like get as far as Dame can go, so Dame can go off into the sunset and do this. I mean, if it means that much to you, Portland, I guess that's a good enough plan. But for me, oh, I got a bigger plan than that. I got a much better plan than that. That's gonna have us ushering into a new plan, a new phase, with nothing but young players flying all over the place. Like flying. You kidding me? Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson need to be on the same team. Now, I don't know what y'all gonna do with Dame, but y'all need to draft that kid and put him next to Simons and don't think about it at all. That's what I think y'all need to do. That's exactly what I would do. And I would thank Dame for his services, man. I really would. I would thank him. But I won't. I don't see myself trading anything in this draft that is of the lottery status away from me if I'm a GM or owner. No, nothing in this draft is getting traded out. No, we're not doing that. I'm going to take something that I want, or I'm going to trade down. You know what I'm saying? I'll trade up, but I'm not trading out of the draft. I'm not doing that. I just don't think this is the draft to do that. There's too many impactful pieces, too many shooters, too many forwards. Teams need forwards, stuff like that. There's too many good guards that can be microwavable, stuff like that. I'm not trading out this draft unless I'm certain I'm getting something that I absolutely love. You know what I mean? So I think superstars are about to be overrated again because everybody saw how it was to win with a team like Denver, who only had 8 players ever seen. I think teams are going to start thinking that's a recipe for success. They're going to overprice superstars, and they're going to run into injury issues, and they're going to tank their franchises. Don't overreact to what Denver just did and what Miami's doing. That's what I would tell teams. It's a mistake. Being shallow equals injuries, equals you sucking. That's it. That's all shallow means. If you look at the Boston Celtics right now, the reason why they're not better than Miami Heat is because their bench hasn't been there all year long, strong enough to uphold those forwards and centers. You know, the forwards and centers. They got guards, but the forwards and centers, you got Blake Griffin backing these dudes up. No, that's not going to work. So that's the problem. They needed more. It would be better if they had it. So it's like, this is what I understand. This is what I understood when I said what I said to start the video about depth. It's just, you could devalue it if you want to, but at the end of the day, you're going to suffer without it. That's for sure. So that's what $60 million worth of cap space does when you have it in one player. It devalues, it decreases any chance of you being able to have real adequate depth. So that's why it's a contract only a mother can love, man. Now, if it were attached to a guy like Giannis or AD or somebody like that who could play both sides of the floor, then they can cover more of what it is that you need to fill in its stead. You see what I'm saying? But if Dame's only playing one side of the ball and you only want him to be in the clutch, well, how the hell do I get to the clutch if I don't have adequate rebounders, block shots, all these things? He ain't going to even have no close games to win. He's going to be getting blown out. You feel me? So it's like, I know better. I know he's a killer. A killer can't be on $60 million worth of money because a killer needs dirty work guys and builders and shot blockers and steal guys, and guys are going to fly all over the floor. Guys are going to be specialists and shooters and jump, all kinds of stuff, continuity guys. He needs all this, so they can be good enough to get him to the moments that make him worth $60 million. So it's like, bro, I'm not confused. And neither should these owners or these GMs. You need certain things to make certain players what they are, man. It's the same thing I said about Malik Beasley. You can have Malik Beasley on $20 million, and he going to give you $20 million worth of play so long as you put him in lineups and don't have all his weaknesses exposed. Because if you put him in them lineups that he's going to be asked to rebound and live without shot blocking and live without all these different types of stuff that make him better, then of course he's going to go out there and be lesser than he's supposed to be, devalue himself in and of itself, and then from there not be worth a damn thing. I'm not saying Dame's any remnants of that. But when you consider how much he needs in order to contend, you can't have him at 60. That should not happen. Not even for legacy, greatness, all that. None of that. None of that on a guy who can't give me all that I need in one player. You got to be able to do a bunch of things. You got to be Giannis, Wembanyama, AD, Joel. I'm talking about affecting both sides of the floor in dominant fashion. If you only play one side of the ball, I don't give a damn how great you are on that one side of the ball. You need other things to get you to glory. That's it. You need other things to get you to glory. A guy like Jokic, he plays one side of the ball, but he does a million things on that one side of the ball, and his defense is highly underrated, as I've found out as a Laker fan. He will get a block. His big size does keep people out of the lane. They really don't score on him as much as you would think they would. Especially when your team doesn't spam the stuff that does work like Rui Hachimura. But that's a whole nother story. The point is, he's getting away with it. So he's the number one guy that plays one side of the ball, in my opinion, who can get away with it. Even Steph Curry cannot. You see, he needs his Draymonds, he needs his Wiggins, he needs all these different types of pieces. Peyton, he needs all these people to play defense in order for him to get to where he needs to go championship-wise. If he don't have that stuff, he's just another guy shooting the ball, man. So, Portland, you done ran into this problem. And now you are going to be just only as good as you allow yourself to be. And so that's just what it is, man. I've been talking about this for a long time. I'm sure Dame tired of me talking about him in this situation. But, hey, man, I'm a fan, bro. I'm a fan. And I want my team to be as good as possible. And when somebody takes $60 million of a cap space, I know that severely hampers what we can do. You know what I mean? Now, if they can find another way to get him that money, get him that money. But don't have it coming out the damn cap. That's all I'm saying. Don't have it coming out the cap. Get it in equity of the team, just like somebody else suggested today. If you're going to do that, do it in equity of the team. Give me a piece of the team that comes out to $60 million in a different way. But don't have it coming out of other players' pockets so that we can't have a good enough team to get where we want to go. So that's always going to be my thing with Dame or anyone. I mean anyone else that can't do every damn thing to make that make sense. That's all it is, bro. It ain't personal. I'd say the same thing to Allen Iverson and anybody else. Because at the end of the day, if you're a one-man band that's going to do scoring, you're going to still need your Mutombos. You need your Aaron McKees. You're going to still need everybody down there doing all that other stuff. And if we can't afford to get quality guys doing that stuff, we're going to suck. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching.